Alright, so more stuff about HTML and CSS layout. And you guys got this width and max width. How would somebody describe to me the difference between width and max width? Let's ingrain this in our head, just deepen this neural pathway. What's width versus max width?
Width is a set size, whereas max width is it's up to this much but can't be below.
Yeah, beautifully said. So width, man, you're always this width. You're 600 pixels, right? But max width, look, you could be 600 pixels, that's your max, but you could also be anything less. So, here, max width, I could be less, right? But just width, man, you're always 600. So, good, I liked it. And then we talked about the box model, and we already kind of covered that. I think you all have that pretty good. And box sizing, border box, and now we're going to talk about position fix. And the examples on this page are actually really nice. And so there's a couple of position fixes. And if you're catching this video online, we're working out of a code repo. The goes to 11 is my username on GitHub. We're in HTML CSS Bootcamp. That's the repo. And we have this video index here, which I don't know how to tell you to get to that. Somewhere I have the link. Whatever. So here is what you need to know about fixed. So with fixed, you could have fixed where it's absolute, relative. So you could have position fixed, you could have position relative, and position absolute. Okay? I was mumbling over my words there. So position is the layout we're looking at here. It's a property, and the values you can set to it are fixed, relative, absolute, and static. Okay? So that's the property position. It's used for layout. So what's the difference between those? So here's a little description of those differences. Fixed means I am out of the document flow and I'm fixed to a certain location on the viewport. All right. Relative, so fixed, the element's taken out of normal flow of the DOM. Relative is relative to itself, and absolute is in relation to the next element up the DOM that also has position fixed applied to it, or position applied to it, some sort of position applied to it. That's kind of an interesting way to think about it. So it's easier to understand this in action. And with all the position ones, you use top right, bottom left property values. Also, you apply position, then you use top right, bottom left properties also to position stuff. And so here are some pretty nice examples. So here's position static. Static is just the normal thing, okay? So static is the default. An element with position static is not positioned in any special way. Static element is said to be not positioned, and an element with its position set to anything else is said to be positioned. So you might want that to toggle something with JavaScript. Oh, go from position fixed back to position static. Otherwise, you don't worry about it. So here's position fixed down here in the bottom right. So as I scroll this screen, that's fixed to the bottom. That's position fixed, okay? Here's position relative. Relative to itself, it's been moved. And then absolute is in relation to something else, put me somewhere. So let me give you the code examples I have, because I'll clarify further. I'm just kind of prepping your mind. So here are some fixed examples. That box up the top is fixed, right? So to get that, it's position fixed is one declaration. Another declaration is top 10 pixels. Another declaration is left 10 pixels. So I brought it off the top 10 and off the left 10 or something like that. So position fixed, I did top 20 pixels, left 10 pixels. So brought it down 20, brought it off the left 10, and it's position fixed. Interestingly, I thought that might stretch it.
No, it's got a fixed height.
I have a fixed height and width. Thank you. Okay, I'll pin myself over here. You're telling me to stretch to those points, I'll do it. But here, if it's overridden, then it doesn't. So that's kind of cool. Thanks for that, Robert. So position fixed. Let's just make sure that's not all screwed up and still in good working order. Another position fixed. Oh, that's kind of an interesting idea, right? You've seen this kind of a page before. So position fixed, right? And then that second one with 80% margin 0 auto. So let's just shift it over. But this one's just out of the document flow. It's just like above everything. Position fixed. Let's look at position relative. It's relative to itself. So where it used to be was right there. So if we look at this, position relative, and take it off, it's right there. I'm going to put position relative on and not change anything. It's still right there. But now I'm going to do top and left. Top and left from where? From where it used to be, relative to itself. So that element is now out of the document flow, right? Like that element's out of the document flow. It's above everything, moving all around. However, where it used to be, that space is still held, right, and taking up space in the document flow. So it's relative to itself. Position relative, relative to itself. So you need to shift something over from where it used to be just a little bit, but still hold that space. Position relative. So position fixed. Ping! It's like a tack board. You're taking a thumbtack and fixing this right here to that position. That's position fixed on the page. Top left, bottom right allows you to say where on the page it's fixed. Position relative is relative to itself. Where I used to be, relative to that, let me move over some amount with top left, bottom right. That's one example of position relative. There's another example of position relative. Boom, a little bit to the left, right? So that would have been like, CSS on that is right 10 pixels. Off the right wall, come off 10 pixels. And then another example of position relative is, I don't know, what's going on there? Position relative, right 10 pixels, and then I overrode it. Position static. So even though I applied it, I then put it back and it went back to nothing. Right, position static. Got it, Steve? Dominic, Nathan? No? Cool.
Is position static? No, I don't.
It's just the default value.
Okay.
So if there's no position static there, that's what happens. Position static just means like, hey, no position. It's just your normal position. You haven't changed. You're static. You have not changed. That's what everything is by default. But you get relative and you get absolute. Or you get fixed. We haven't done absolute yet. All right, so I want you to create a page and use position fixed, and I want you to create a page and use position relative. That's your hands-on assignment. And we'll get to the next one.